All right, what a tangled web we weave when we promise to deceive. Is that how it goes? Or is it what a tangled web we weave when we endeavor to deceive? Or is it what a tangled web we weave? Whatever the case, the Raiders are definitely in a tangled web. And there's no other way to describe it than that. Earlier today, was the August 17th meeting of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, and the stream is good, and it was not without its fireworks and interesting news. The first news right off the bat, is it straight off the bat or right off the bat? Both. Hello everybody. The first news right off the bat is that, I'll just be blunt with you, the Raiders are in trouble. That's right, the Oakland Raiders Las Vegas Stadium project is in trouble. I have two words for you: cost overruns. That's right, cost overruns. Hey, Joseph True. Hey, everybody. The Raider Juice Bay Area Dallas Cowboys. I have no idea what that's all about. Joshua says, let's go. I agree. Let's go. Let's get this show off with a bang, or thereabouts, or maybe a pyrotechnic bang, or maybe a ETFE bang, right? So this is something that we should basically thank you very much. We should basically pay attention to. So before I get to that, I'm going to start off by saying this, okay? I'm going to give you a rundown of the travesty that I saw today. Yes, I did say. Oh, thank you for the compliment regarding the coverage very much. Let me explain what I saw today, and by way of a rundown, okay? By way of a rundown, and it'll go like this. Excuse me, I'm trying to pull up the Stadium Authority. There it is, and it goes like this. First of all, you gotta love how the Stadium Authority really is intent on getting the information up on its website in a timely fashion. I applaud them for that, because I was able to look at the Raiders' presentation of the financing plan and look at the Bank of America representative Elliot McCabe said, and now I'm looking at Clark County Stadium Authority financing plan discussion materials. They've got Derek Carr on the cover and all that, right? And they have a notice disclosure statement, and I went through all that, past the construction timeline, and I zero right in on financing overview. And this is what I read and caught my eye. The stadium will be funded by $750 million of Clark County, Nevada general obligation bonds, backed and serviced solely by an 88% of, or maybe 88/100ths of 1%, okay, increase to the county hotel room tax. The tax supporting the county bonds has already received public approval via Senate Bill 1, enacted October 9th, 2016. Actually, that date's wrong. It should be enacted. The date is really enacted October 17th of 2016. So that's wrong. With tax increases effective March 1st, 2017. That part's right. So already they are off the beaten path with this wrong date. Heck, I know more than they do, and this is Bank of America that put this together. Ostensibly, right? $200 million in NFL G4 funds, consistent with other new NFL stadiums. Up to $850 million is senior secured multi-draw term loan facility that will fund periodically during construction of the stadium. And it breaks down in this way. See, it's very good that you're going through this with me, because then I can explain to you how this breaks down. And if you want to have a little sheet to go over, go to lvstadiumauthority.com, go to the August 17th meeting, all right? Click on it, and then click down to the document listings, and then just click on the one for Raiders Stadium, Raiders Stadium funding, okay? So now, this is how it breaks down. It says up to $850 million in senior secured multi-draw term loan facility that will fund periodically during construction of the stadium. But then it goes and it breaks down this way. Finance company to be formed as a to be formed, which means it hasn't been made yet, Delaware Trust. That will be the borrower. Up to $250 million of the loan proceeds will be used to purchase PSLs sold by the authority. So in other words, they're expecting $250 million in PSL sales. That's up from $200 million. Okay? That's up from $200 million. The finance company will purchase the PSLs from the authority, because the authority is selling them. The authority is contributing the sales proceeds to project costs. Note the Raiders are not involved in that at all. Keep that in mind, okay? Now, up to $600 million of the loan proceeds of the $850 million, okay? All right? I'm going through the brief description. Listen, pay attention. Pay attention. Up to $800 million of the loan proceeds will be used to make a loan to Las Vegas Stadium Company, LLC, what's called STADCO, a to-be-formed Nevada company for construction-related costs, hard costs and soft costs, contingencies, reserve costs, and other costs associated with developing a new stadium. Note that because STADCO, even though STADCO has been called the Raiders, in truth, according to this document, STADCO has not been formed. So Dan Ventrelli writing his name and putting the Raiders in his STADCO was just a placeholder. In fact, they did say that. That was way back in March, I believe. All right, now the land has been acquired by the Raiders and will be contributed to the project. Okay, you have to do that. So you've got $750 million public contribution, $200 million in FLG4 funds, $250 million from PSL proceeds, $600 million in the stadium construction loan. That's $1.8 million additional funding available. That's $100 million from the Raiders. That's it. The Raiders will use that for their practice facility. The stadium project cost will be $1.8 billion, right? Get this. At nowhere in this do they mention anything about infrastructure costs off-site. Remember the whole discussion we had regarding infrastructure? First, it was going to be part of this infrastructure was $350 million. And then when they wrote, and that was before SB1, then SB1 came out and they had this little proviso that, according to, I believe it was section 34 of SB1, that the organization, the developer, the Raiders, would be responsible for paying an, quote, adequate, unquote, cost of the off-site transportation infrastructure price tag, right? Then here comes NDOT with that study that said it was $900 million. Then here comes some people saying, well, those things have been earmarked for funding, but then NDOT was forced to admit that they hadn't identified funds for any of the items in that report. So basically, you've got $900 million worth of improvements that have to go, that are unfunded, combined with a Senate bill that says the Raiders have to pay some adequate amount of them. So let's split the difference at $450 million, right? That already put the Raiders over budget before this came out. Then Kimmy Horn comes up with another study that focuses on off-site non-transportation costs. When I say transportation, I'm talking about highways, not streets and roads, or sidewalks, or light standards. Kimmy Horn's study dealt with that. And that's with an unknown price tag. But then here comes the comprehensive planning director of Clark County saying, oh, by the way, the stadium has a parking requirement which equal to what? One seat, one parking lot for every 4 stadium seats, or 16,250 lots. Wow! So what does that cost? Because how many, well, gee, Nancy, how many can fit on the land? Oh, about less than 2,000, about 2,450. Oh my Lord. So that means that the Raiders have to find 14,000 parking spaces somewhere in the valley, right? If they have to find it nearby, given the land cost at $2.9 million per acre, that equals $195 million. So there's another cost. What's the upshot of all this, folks? It spells cost overrun. Cost overrun. All right? That's what it spells. Cost overrun. And a little birdie told me that, a little birdie told this other birdie that reportedly Mark Davis was rejected in his request for an additional loan amount by Elliott McCabe and Bank of America, although this person didn't use Elliott McCabe's name. Just said Bank of America rejected him for additional request. Right? I'm trying to confirm that. I don't know that it's true or not, but it would make sense because you have to remember something. Bank of America came in to replace who? Hello? I'll give you a hint. He's the guy who put the most money in Donald Trump's campaign of anybody, who just may very well be extremely angry with the same President Trump right now for reasons having nothing to do with this vlog. Right, Sheldon Adelson, okay? The whole idea, you know the media reports. First it was Goldman Sachs that was going to replace Sheldon Adelson. The Goldman says, wait a minute, he's our client. We can't do that. So Bank of America steps in as Mr. McCabe says we have a 25-year relationship with the Raiders. So they step in to help them look good. But that goodwill only goes so far. Bank of America obviously is not willing to stick its neck out to the point where it's going to do what Sheldon Adelson was going to do, write a check to cover all of these cost overruns. Where's that coming from? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So as Harry, let's say, Jesus Christ, when will Mark Davis realize this is a train wreck waiting to happen and just stay in Oakland? The A's are probably going to build downtown, and so the whole Coliseum land would be theirs. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Melvin Lovejoy says, why didn't the board bring this up? They must be asleep again. They need to wake up. Yeah, no, the only person that was awake was Bill Hornbuckle, the great president of MGM, and Kim Nevins, who is rightly concerned about whether or not black folks are going to get jobs. Because right now, it still looks like we're not going to get any jobs there, okay? So, yeah, and I agree with Eric Madison. It's well said. And Baucher says, LB has an article about the sampling. I'll get to that separately, but I want to focus on this. Well, actually, you know what? In fairness to Baus, he's right to bring that up because, as Baus and I talked about off this camera before, which helped me form my thoughts for this stream, that if drilling that takes really, really, really long, and because of the material down there, caliche as they call it, maybe they can't drill as much and it takes more money, that's another problem. But also, it does look like a fake story, but that's another issue. I don't want to go down that path much at all. Because to me, the bigger issue is this. Bank of America just got up there and said, hey, there's a cost overrun. And, hey, thank you very much for your investment, Chris. Much, much appreciated, Kook Snipe. And, hey, Chris, everybody's here. Wow. Chris Samore, wearing black, Greg Brugman, hey. And Joseph True, how you doing? And, yeah, this is not good. And not only that, it's not only not good in terms of the news that I'm talking about with you here, it's also the FAA news. I'm going to read to you in depth what that news is. And the reason why I say in depth is because so many organizations have got it wrong. I'm going to run it by you one more again, as we used to say, one more again, all right? And by the way, if you're wondering how long I'm going to be on, it's going to be an hour because I was on last night. I was on today for almost 4 hours. What the heck? I don't care. I'm just going to talk to you. Besides, I got my investment from Chris, and I want more, because the information that I've got for you right now is hot, and it's going to get hotter. I'm telling you, it's going to get hotter. All right. So it's really going to get hot. You're going to walk away wanting to, if you haven't done so already. In fact, by the way, put this on your Facebook page right now, spread it around. But, okay, this is what I want to read to you regarding the FAA deal. By the way, the FAA said the whole headline from the Las Vegas Review-Journal was, quote, misleading, unquote, okay? Misleading, all right? It said the headline was misleading, but the story was accurate, all right? That's what I got. The headline was misleading, but the story was accurate, okay? So, hold on a second. I am trying to... Oh, this happened. He gave me some information. The official comment period ends September 22nd, but when that comment period ends, folks, that does not mean the FAA study is over. It doesn't mean that at all. At all. Oh, here it is. Okay. We just put out this public notice soliciting comments from interested stakeholders. This is what I got yesterday, a day ago, on the Raider Stadium proposal, all right? So I'm going to double click on it. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to bring you down and read it to you, okay? Right here, I'm going to read this to you, what this says at the bottom. Right at the bottom, all right? Just so there's no mistaking anything, all right? Here we go, all right? Ready? Come with me under the sea. There we go. All right, here we go. All right. It reads this, okay? Preliminary FAA study indicates that the above-mentioned structure would have no effect on any or proposed arrival, departure, or en route flight instrument flight rules. That's IFR. Have no effect on any existing or proposed arrival, departure, or en route instrument visual flight rules, IFR, VFR, minimum flight altitudes. That's IFR, VFR. Not exceed traffic pattern airspace. Have no effect on any airspace routes used by the military. It says the above mentioned structure. Now, if we scroll down, right, more, we find this. This is what we find. Additional information for ASN, for basically the stadium. Aeronautical study numbers, abbreviations, location of proposed project, right? And it talks about the height of the stadium and everything else. That's for the, okay, obstruction standards exceeded. The structure is identified as an obstruction under the following Part 77 standards, and it lists those, okay? Effect on aeronautical operations, the impact on arrival, departure, and en route procedures for aircraft operating under visual flight rules, VFR. All of the points of the proposed stadium would exceed it, all right? That's visual. That's visual. The impact on arrival, departure, and en route procedures for aircraft operating by IFR, that's none. That's good news for the Raiders. The impact on all planned public use airports and aeronautical facilities under investigation seeking public input. The cumulative impact resulting from the proposed construction or alteration of a structure when combined with the impact of other existing proposed structure under investigation seeking public input, okay? And there's the map and everything, okay? So that's why it's very important to look at what they're talking about here. They are far from having this done, and so basically once those comments are filled out, they'll take those after the 22nd, they'll process them. They're not going to finish this before October 1st. So I can't see Clark County meeting on this because the FAA rule until after October. They said September 15th, but that's not going to happen. That's just not happening. I'm sorry, it just isn't. So that's the other bit of that's the news. That's the only way they're going to do that is to push it and pre-approve something before the study is over. They don't know when the study is going to be over. No one does. No one does. All right. So we've got. All right, Hank. Hey, how you doing? He says, I wonder what the FAA thinks about helicopters and blimps and fireworks that are typical of stadium operations. Don't know. So here we've got. Juan Ramirez says Mark Davis has a better chance of building a stadium in North Korea than Las Vegas. Juan just invested again. Thank you very much. And Rich Sires, I asked me, do I see them making the November deadline? You know, I don't like to make predictions, but in this instance, I would have to say I just can't see it. And if they, because the November deadline is really the October deadline. And as they said, they want to have all of the documents wrapped up before the October deadline. Okay? So I just can't see that. I just can't see it. I don't see B of A backing out. What I see is B of A standing pat and saying, hey, look, this is how much, it's like any loan situation. This is how much which we can give you for a loan. We cannot go over that. I'm sorry. Just like any other banker. This is not Sheldon Adelson. Sheldon was saying, hey, look, I'm going to write a check. I'm going to make an investment in the community, and I may not get my money back. I'm going to try. Hey, I'd like to own part of the Raiders. Ah, says NFL, right? Ah, says NFL. Okay? So, Richard Carson is back for more. Welcome back, Richard Carson. Richard's back for more. And we've got the Real Raider is here. Thank you. Melvin Lovejoy, $5 bid. Hey, Melvin. Hey, $5 buys a great cup of coffee, man. Put $5 in. Donis says, was B of A a deal breaker for the NFL? It wasn't a deal breaker for the NFL, Donis. What it was a confirmation of my assertion that, first of all, the Raiders have cost overruns, and second, that, frankly, in no way is Bank of America going to cover them. They're just not there. And in fact, as Bob said, alluded to, because he watched earlier, and so did Barry Lee and a number of others, they had talked about the Raiders having access to other means of capital if they needed to do so. And in this case, they're going to need to do so if they want to push it. This is a situation where these costs are not going to go down. They're only going to go up. And then not only that, the community benefits agreement is not done. You want to know the biggest mess in the world? You know what that would be? Is if we get into the next legislative cycle, there's no community benefits agreement, and the Ken Evans of the world start trying to derail this project. If you have the black community and the Latino community coming out together in Las Vegas and saying, this thing doesn't happen without us, you've got a major league problem. And right now, I don't see any sign where that possibility could not happen at all. Andy Smith says, what cost overruns? The cost overruns concerning are adding to the fact that, first of all, Senate Bill 1 says that the Raiders have to provide, quote, or have to provide an adequate amount of the off-site transportation infrastructure cost, A. Then B, the fact that they have to pay for a parking lot, which, given the cost to buy an acre of land in the area around where the Raiders site is right now at $2.9 million, clocks in at $195 million. That's a new cost not seen before. Not to mention that, according to the Clark County Director of Comprehensive Planning, there is an intention of having the Raiders pay for any needed additional sidewalks or light standards around the stadium grounds or near the stadium in different streets and areas, okay? And that's considerable because there are a number of roads around there that are not sufficiently light serviced. I mean, I've been around there before. Some of you have too. You know what it looks like. It's a no person's land at night. You don't want to get stuck down there. But it's perfect for a development if you have the money to do it. The Raiders right now do not have any guaranteed vehicle to cover the cost overruns that are being heaped upon it by these regulations that, look, are the equivalent of a kind of environmental review, all right? So Mel Scott says, stadium that close could be a problem. Oh, Melvin, thank you for the investment, Melvin. Thank you. Thank you. Looks like I'm going to have to do the glass thing again. I don't have my spoon this time. Oh, yeah, I do. Like that. Could do it like this. The ringy-dingy thingy, right? That's for everybody. The ringy-dingies. The ringy-dingies. Whew, boy. It's a warm night up here, by the way. It's a warm night up here. So, and Juan Ramirez, you made the observation of the night thus far and said, Don't forget it being in a flood zone. Exactly. Exactly. And that is a major league deal. The flood zone, situation was not discussed, and it hasn't been dealt with. I'm going to take one moment, please, because it's really warm up here tonight. I'm just going to get something just to stay cool. All right, one moment. I'm going to turn on the fan here because it is warmer than usual. There. Okay, I'm back. All right. Phew. There's they say it's getting hot in here. Oh boy, oh boy. No, I'm not gonna do that. Sorry. Who sang that song? It's getting hot in here. So dun dun dun. I'm not gonna do that one. John Russo used to sing that all the time. Why hasn't the flood zone been discussed? Because no one's brought it up, Eric. Eric, that's a good question. Eric Madison asked, why hasn't the flood zone been discussed? No one's brought it up. It is a simple matter of going down to public comment, or at least putting in the public comments, or at least making noise about the flood zone. But no one has brought the flood zone subject up. Amazing! 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 And so, yeah, be a Zinster. I like that. Octavio Arias is here. Octavio, we had 60, at one point 70 watching until I came back, and they're like, oh, it's Zenny. Forget it. Let me go through here more and read you. Okay, so I discussed that, and I'm going to read some more interesting tidbits from this. This is the UNLV letter that was posted. This is the Nevada System of Higher Education UNLV letter to Steve Hill. It was written yesterday. Well, today. Dear Chairman Hill, our sincerest thanks to the Las Vegas Stadium Authority Board and to the Raiders of Oakland. It doesn't say that. I put the Oakland part in. See how they are? For your time and effort in making a domed, NFL-ready stadium a priority for Southern Nevada. We are grateful for your hard work ensuring UNLV continues to be an important partner in this great opportunity. The partnership among the Raiders, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority Board, and the Nevada System of Higher Education is not just about football. It's about building a better community for all Nevadans. We've been asked many times about ongoing discussion of the joint use agreement among the parties. Without getting into finer points of negotiations, we can say we are making great strides from where we began our conversations with the Raiders and have reached consensus on many items. There's still work to be done, but we are optimistic about achieving the desired results to the benefit of all parties. We look forward to our continued work with the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders, and the Las Vegas Stadium Authority Board to give UNLV football and the great fans access to a stadium and an accompanying game day experience that will rival the best in college football. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like, let's not let anyone know that we have some disagreements going on and put on the best public face we possibly can. And what better two people to do that than the perfect people, the perfect politicians within higher education, a university's chancellor and the university's president. I give you Thomas Riley, the chancellor of the Nevada system of higher education, and Lynn Jessup, the president of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, stepped forward to make their political letter, because they didn't show up to read it. Okay? But the letter was there, right? They're not done with the agreement. I don't care what kind of face you put on it. They have been at this since January 28th of 2016. This is August 17th going into August 18th, and they still don't have an agreement, folks. That is where we are. Wow. Okay? But hey, you know what? Like I said, the politicians have to make sure. This is probably that was probably Sisolak's idea. You know why? Sisolak's running for governor. He wants everything to look good. Because if this goes south on his watch, in his mind, it hurts his ability to be governor. That's where Steve is at. I understand look, I'm not trashing Steve Sisolak. I think that, and I've told him this in private conversation, I'll say this publicly, I think he is a pragmatic Democrat who would make a fine governor for Nevada. I'll say that straight out. But hey, look, he wants our Raiders. So, from that perspective, yeah, you know, but he knows where I'm coming from, so that's why I like Steve a lot. Democrats out there support Steve Sisolak for governor of Nevada. Just saying. Unless, of course, Kristen Giuliani announces, and then it's a coin flip, because she's a great lady too. But I digress. Let me get back to this, all right? Now, we've got the Quarterly Economic Survey report, which I'm going to read another time, because that was interesting, an interesting bit of discussion. You know what? No, I'm going to read that right now, because it's something that's called for by law, and it says the Clark County Stadium Authority Board ratifies the authorization for the Clark County Department of Finance to submit the Clark County Stadium Authority's Quarterly Economic Survey report to the Department of Taxation of the state. All right. Then it gives some background and all that, and it has these check boxes like, has any employer that accounts for 15% or more of the employment in the area closed or significantly reduced operations since the previous report? No. And then let's see here. I'm looking for any questions that might be politically juicy, and I don't see any. Like, you know, do you have a diverse workforce? That kind of question. I don't see anything like that. Has the entity failed to pay any contributions to government agencies for the benefit of employees, for example, PERS? That doesn't apply. And then, has the entity failed to make timely payments for debt service to vendors or others? No. So, you know, it's stuff like that. So, you know, they come out, they look good. The problem is that because the hotel tax is so small. Oh, hey, thank you for the investment, Paul. Because the hotel tax is so small relative to the 1% it should have been at, or the 1.4% as I said it should have been at, they're going to only have $50,000 to spend on a development czar that will only take them through May of next year. Okay? So if you want a job being the development czar for them, they can pay you $50,000. You hold on until May, then they get $2 million, and maybe you'll get a bigger cut. Now, you've got Raiders Stadium presentation on stadium project status. As I click that, I don't actually remember them going over this in any intense way. This is a 27-page document. This is the stadium design progress video. This is that page that he went over, Don Webb did. And let me show you this. For those of you who didn't see the meeting, I'm going to give it to you Zinni style, all right? Here it is. Hold on to your rears. Ta-da. All right, there's the stadium. And as you can see, it's translucent, right? And where are we is we're looking at, well, I'll zoom out a little bit more. There, okay. This is Russell Road. That's I-15. The Mandalay Bay is over here, all right? Area hotels are over there, way off over here in this area right there, okay? The airport is over yonder there, okay? So they put this on kind of the northern quadrant of the land with most of the parking here. Now look, the significant part of this property, all of this, see that? You can't park there at all. They've got parking just here and here. This is for the rollout of the stadium in and out, right? Stadium field. And they're using this as some sort of gigantic kind of access area. And then they have this kind of frontage road here. What this deal here? See this? Look at this. Okay? See that? See that? That frontage road dealie there? Okay, that comes in. All right. We got that. So then, that's what it's going to look like according to their software that actually gives you a rendition of what the stadium is really going to look like based on all the engineering maladies and everything else. But you can see there's the pedestrian bridge, right? So the on-site infrastructure costs we're talking about basically involve paving all this in, installing this. This is a huge trench. Look at that. Look how big that trench is. You see that? You see how big that trench is? Can you say, water collection? I mean, where are you going to drain that out when it gets down there? Wow. Okay. Just saying. Not to mention above ground. What are you going to do? There's a channel underground here. You don't know that, but there's a channel underground here that leads to the reservoir. Can the channel stand the capacity of the water runoff? Don't know that. They didn't discuss it. There's another angle at the design. Yeah, I got to tell you, I love that in Oakland. The Raiders ought to take that design, say to heck with you, it's too costly here. We'll just bring it back to Oakland and be done with it. And we would have the dome stadium Oakland has always needed. You know what? That ought to be our mission. To just simply take this thing. That's what we ought to do, folks. We ought to just take this thing from them. Just take it from them on behalf of the Raiders and move it to Oakland. That's it. Okay? So, I got to admit, I'm liking the design, Yeah, it was originally for Carson, but you know what? Can't you see this being the Nimitz Freeway? And maybe you got this over here, Oracle is over there, that sort of thing, In fact, you know what? Someone ought to take that design and put it in Oakland, like right next to Oracle, just for grins. Just to freaking screw with things, you know what I mean? Someone ought to do that. Okay. Oh boy. That'll be a lot of fun. And just put, Oakland Raiders Stadium. Just put Oakland Raiders Stadium rather than Las Vegas Stadium. Just, you know what I mean? That's the, this is the outside area. And note, the grounds, okay? And that ground, if that material is what I think it is, it's slick. It's going to get slick during rains. That's not going to be cool. So there's another shot of it with what I call the wind, I call this the sandstorm tunnel, right? Sandstorm tunnel. So there's your design overview. Okay. And then this is the fireworks that we're talking about, and this is where it really got funny with the discussion of the roof, because they don't want to admit that that roof has an issue with taking fire. So the architect stumbled all over his words trying to basically say, hey, we're not sure that this material can handle high heat, so we're not going to have this kind of fireworks you see. Okay, so don't use it. But they're going to use it. Then they discussed this trench. I'm telling you something. Folks, that's expensive. And no one on the Stadium Authority asked what the cost to put that in is. I'm going to do some research, because we had something like that for seats 25 years ago, planned for the Raider Stadium in the Coliseum. We couldn't make it work. We couldn't make it work. Talking about, and this is a cutaway. This is cool. This is a cutaway of what the stadium is going to look like. See that? The luxury suites are over here. All right, let me see if I can zoom in so you can steadily get a shot of that. Okay. And there you go. All right. What they're talking about is the truss spans here. You see these truss spans will support the roof right here. See this? Basically will support the roof structure. This will be load bearing right here. All this will be load bearing for the roof. It will be a free clear go here. Okay? And there's another shot at what I'm talking about. So again, this is where the roof is supported here and here. You see that? Here, well, that's the light standard. Here and here. See that? Right there. See this? All of this will support the roof with this truss. This will support the truss span here. This truss span goes all around. See that? There. Now, as to whether or not it's the largest truss span of its kind in the world, I don't know. So anyway, that's what's basically the place at which the design has evolved. It's going to change some more, but that's what it looks like right now. And like I said, someone ought to take the design and just put it where the current Coliseum Stadium is right now, just for fun. I mean, and I say that because it's about time that we got creative. We haven't been, as an Oakland fan base, we haven't done anything like that. I made my drawing and some of you made fun of it, but then nobody else did anything. Okay? Do something. You know how to use Photoshop? Use it. I mean, this is ugh. Okay. Someone asked me about the parking issue. This is the parking map. This is the parking map here, all right? That's the stadium. That's Bali High right there. Let's zoom in. Now, this is the $195 million solution. Okay? So, if Bali High were used, there. These are the other options around, including over here up UNLV. These are the other parking area options, all right, and then around the streets and roads. That was the Raiders' plan, but as a number of people have noted, when you start whittling down, when you start taking into account the fact that a lot of those parking lots are already used and will be during game day, the number that's really available whittles down to a small amount. So, as was pointed out today in the presentation, if you use Bali High, that will solve the problem. But what they didn't say, and I'm saying, is you have to cough up about $200 million to do it. So there you go. That's the parking overview. Then they talked about, they have produced this video, an update, and they have this other, you have to see this. I want to show you this. I'm going to show you this right here. Okay, boom. See that? You know, I look at that and I say, this is what I think when I see this and I see this. You know what I think? I think water runoff. I think flood damage. I think water trap. Where is that water going to go? Where's the water going to go? Now, in terms of the additional lighting, these are new lights. These lights don't exist on the side across the street. The Raiders would have to pay for that. Okay? For starters. Not just on their own property. Okay? Alright, so I'll get back to your comments and questions. But I think that gives you a taste, alright? Richard Carr says, do I think the NFL or Jerry Jones will jump in to save Mark Davis? It depends on the cost. You know, right now, at $400 million overrun, I don't think they're going to force the Raiders to make that decision and say stay. The Raiders will have to come to that themselves. Excuse me. It's a warm day, as I said, up here. The Raiders will have to come to that decision themselves. Because the question the Raiders have to ask is, can we reasonably function as a football organization with this kind of extra cost hanging over our head? My answer would be no. My answer would be no, because you're one or two dead contract deals away from going right back in the situation you were in a few years ago. So no. So Juan Ramirez says Vegas will ever happen. Corey Brown says I bet Philly wouldn't let Atlantic City steal the Eagles from them. Come on, Bay Area leadership, get your act together. Raider Hernandez says yes, we should take the stadium back to Oakland. Yeah, someone just go to make a Photoshop, get the land or something like that, right, and then just plunk. You know what, boss? You're watching. You know we should get Deshaun. This should be Deshaun's project. Yeah, I know it's not his design, but he has the equipment. He can do that. He can just take the thing and slam it on there. Have some fun and just circulate it around. So Daniel Dillon says athletes need to rename the site and Oakland needs to get to work. Enough of this Vegas BS already. And Richard Lucero says, I know the old silver and black would have took it and ran with it. Yeah, exactly. And it is a nice, awesome stadium design. And I have to admit, it is quite exciting. It's a little smaller than I would like. I would prefer 70,000 seats, and I would prefer more free clear space for additional exhibits and events. I don't see that here. This is, as modern stadiums go, it's a bit snug. It's 1.7 million square feet to be sure, but it's still snug. So and I know some people don't want the dome, and I'm not married to the dome idea. I mean, originally, in fact, keep this in mind. The original design was open air. It only became a dome when it was moved from Carson to Nevada, from Las Vegas, from Carson to Las Vegas. So I think you've got LX9933 says, what is the link to the image of the stadium you're looking at, Zenny? There's nowhere for water runoff equals flooding. Oh, go to your search engine, type Las Vegas Stadium Authority, hit return. It should come up number 1 or 2. All right, click on it, and then go to the August 17th meeting, and you'll see a selection of files, PDF files. Just click on the one that says Raiders Stadium Presentation. You're there. Okay. So, and Baller says, hey Zenny, what happened to Al signing the lease through 2025? That was not. That's history going way back. You're asking me about history, right, Baller? You're not. You can't be asking me about present day. Jamal Mills says, did anyone mention the update on Sean Smith? I haven't heard one yet. I paid attention singularly to this issue, but I can, it's the internet, right? So I can just switch over real quick and find out. Sean Smith, hold on a second. Let me do that for you. I will get the answer for you in a jiffy. Sean Smith, Raiders. Hold on a second, Raiders. All right, Sean Smith, Raiders cornerback. Whoa. Oakland Raiders cornerback Sean Smith faces assault and battery charges. Oh, my Lord. Wow. I think I'd rather go back to discussing the stadium. Okay, let me read this. This is from, hey, look, when it's on TMZ, it's bad, okay? When it's on TMZ, yeah, I know you tried to tell me, Citron, but I didn't want to. I just wanted to talk stadiums and things that didn't have to do with, the maladies of people. I didn't mean it like that. Well, I did mean it like, no, I didn't mean it like that. I did mean it like that. I didn't want to deal with the bad things. Good things about people, yeah, bad things. This is a bad thing. He was charged with beating his sister's boyfriend. Okay? So, let's see here. Now you have that juxtaposed against the news that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, are planning to pay to take down a Confederate statue. Great bucks! But then we have this news. Okay, man. Raiders Sean Smith charged with felony assault over July 4th beatdown. Wow. Oakland Raiders quarterback Sean Smith, who signed a $40 million contract last year was arrested Thursday and charged with felony assault, TMZ Sports has learned. Officials say Smith attacked his sister's boyfriend on July 4th, beat and stomped on his head in Pasadena in the early hours. Where did they get this time to do stuff like this? He's been charged with felony assault by means of force, likely to produce great bodily injury and battery with serious... Oh, this is awful. This is awful. This is awful. He's maintained his innocence, okay? So what can you do? He's maintained his innocence. But my point is this. Why? And yeah, I know, but I just don't like that. Here's the thing, okay? My question is this. You have all that money and time. Why not invest in a startup, a major startup, and go on a tech tour of companies you can invest in? You just got $40 million. You could be in New York City, wining and dining with young entrepreneurs, finding ways to turn your money into more money. And instead he has the time to do something like this? That's what I'm talking about. What the frick is going on? Okay? That's ridiculous. I mean, if he's going to do that, give me the $40 million. I know what to do with it. It's ridiculous. Excuse me. All right. This is why I don't like to talk about those things. I prefer talking about stadium stuff. That's miserable. All right? Now, Anthony Fitzgerald says, what's your best guess about what the Raiders stand to lose in TV advertising, money-wise, Las Vegas versus the Bay Area? Well, Anthony, it's a good question. We have to assume new stadiums for both. So if we assume, okay, that's why it's so cool to take the stadium that was in Carson is now in Las Vegas and put it in Oakland. And it really does look like an Oakland stadium, doesn't it? It looks more like it belongs in Oakland than it does in Las Vegas, interestingly. But having said that, my ballpark is that the Raiders in Oakland are a $4 billion franchise. In Las Vegas, they're a $3 billion franchise. That's the difference. So it's about a difference of $1 billion. I mean, look at what the Warriors are doing with their new Chase Arena across the bay. Look at all the great deals that have been signed with Steph Curry's max deal, Kevin Durant, and so on. All right? The Bay Area is a rich sports region in a way that Las Vegas can only hope to be. So the Raiders will be worth a lot more in the Bay Area than Las Vegas by $1 billion. There you are. Now, in terms of franchise value. Now, how much of that would be potential media? I'll peg that at $400 million. So there you go. All right. So that's with the new stadium. They got to have that new stadium. Got to have it. Got to have it. And Jamal Mills says, great ending would be a Raiders staging in Oakland. Yep. Dorian says, if Vegas falls through and Oakland doesn't work out a new stadium deal, then both Raiders and Oakland agree they should move to Orange County. That's funny. Brad Brugman says, our coach is going to be bald before week 1 starts with all this drama. Yeah, you can say that again, man. He's going to look like me. Okay. Jamal Mills says, stay in Oakland. Yep. Donis says, we do need a task force, Donis. We do. You know how to revive the Oakland Sports Forum. I had something called the Oakland Sports Forum in 2014. We had all the mayoral candidates stop by for a great conversation, a great forum. Maurice Keith said, would that stadium in Las Vegas cost $1.3 million here? It would arguably be, well, look, yes, the Fortress Stadium could be that design, but I've always advocated for something more expensive, like $2 billion anyway. I mean, to me, if you're going to do a stadium in the Bay Area for events, you do it right and you spend the money. Henry Flores says, ML Scott says, has anyone from the city of Oakland or Forever Oakland been to or planned to speak at the Las Vegas Sports Authority meeting about the Raiders' lack of good faith? How can that happen? Las Vegas has a sports authority? I'd love to speak. If you knew who to put me in contact with, I'd love to, all right? So Henry Flores says, Zinni, what are the findings of the Federal Aviation Administration report? Well, Henry, there's no report per se. What I read, I'll recite again, basically, are this. The findings are that for IFR, instrument flight, IFR and VFR for instruments, and then visuals, that the preliminary report is that the Raiders Stadium will not affect planes taking off and landing, going on taxiways, right? But in terms of visual sight, it's so tall that there has to be a public comment period to determine what people think about putting that thing there and how it's going to interrupt their flight. For example, if you have a small plane, that sort of thing. So that's why the public comment period was established, which is standard fare for the FAA, runs until the 22nd of September. But because of its existence, the fact that this is going on and the FAA's study hasn't finished, Clark County cannot issue its approval of the Raiders' plans. All that's been pushed back. And so because that's pushed back, it impacts everything from, well, when they can actually start building, basically, is what it impacts. And the groundbreaking, theoretically. Of course, the Raiders own the land, and they could turn around and just decide to hold the groundbreaking at that date anyway, just to put up a cosmetic front like, oh, everything is okay, and oh, we're not going to build this, but we can't tell you. Okay, you get the idea, all right? So, Todd Christian says Mark Davis never wanted to leave L.A. Tight end 4 says, Zinni, if Bank of America pulls out, which I don't anticipate them doing, will the NFL try to fill the gap by procuring another team loan? Here's the thing. Bank of America is not going to pull out. They're just like any bank. They're saying, because remember, they haven't let any money yet. What Bank of America is saying is, this is the amount that we can provide, and that's it. We can't go beyond this. We can't cover these other overruns. We're not going to do that. We're covering stadium construction. We're giving you $850 million commercial loan, $600 million of which is going to Teamco, which is the Raiders, all right? And the other $250 million is basically being pledged as an exchange for the PSLs, and that's it. That's the level of involvement we have, and we're not going beyond that. That's what Bank of America has said. Remember, Bank of America was, and Goldman Sachs before Bank of America was painted as the organization that was going to save the Raiders and replace Shell Nadelson, which should be clear now that is not happening. Shell Nadelson cannot be replaced at all. So Maurice Keith says, I would dead the roof idea if you build it here and leave the sliding door idea to reflect the flame. And Brad Brugman laughs. James McClendon says Oakland is far more attractive market than Las Vegas, not even close. And it's a travesty that we are here tonight talking about relocation versus celebrating a new stadium in Oakland. Yeah, I'm telling you, again, we ought to take that image and superimpose it on Coliseum grounds and just have a field day with it and spread it around social media and just get everybody massively excited about the possibility and then pissed off at the same time. I'm sorry, images matter. Images do matter because I gotta admit, I like the design of the stadium. I like its execution. It's a little smaller than I would like. But overall, I like it. So, Mimo Scott says, thanks, Juan Ramirez. Henry Flores says, Zinni, if Bortles were still there during the second round along with Carr, do you think the Raiders would have selected him instead of Carr? No. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, actually I do. But that's another subject. Hennessy says, we had a deal here in Oakland and Mark didn't want it. Wants everything for free but willing to grow broke in Las Vegas. Yeah, I'm still on the fence about that. I still believe there's something else to that. And I believe it has to do with Shell Nadelson fronting the Raiders some money, at least enough to buy the land. Todd Christensen says they should simply build another I can't see the spelling. Mount Davis, okay. Opposite the existing one, close the east side and leave the west in open. That would give about 65,000 seats and give an epic bay view with bridges. Brad Blogman says, images matter. They do. They do. Andy Smith says, I cannot believe this is happening to my team. I can't take it. Whew. Yeah, it's hard. Raider Hernandez says, Zinni, do talk to Amy Trask. I've tried. You know what? Go to Twitter and tell Amy, and say in big letters, talk to Zinni Abraham. Just put it out right now. Put that out there. I have reached out to Amy a bunch of times. I know Amy. I have the greatest love and respect for Amy. I think Amy doesn't like it when I bring up her name regarding the past because, let's face it, she worked for the city of Oakland. I represented the mayor. I tried to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland. She did cast a vote in my favor, which I do appreciate. But Amy Trask deserves her rightful place as president of some NFL team. She does. But will she ever come on the show? She never reaches back. So just right now, get on Twitter and just tell Amy in big letters, talk to Zinni Abraham. Straight out. Just like that. Just like that. Okay? So, David Lawrence says, hey, Zinni, do you think the city and the county will be afraid to sign on to the lawsuit? I think they're afraid of their own shadow. And Brad says, I agree. If it costs them money, yeah, but if they're signing on as a friend of the court, then no. And also, there's another wild card here. If they do, which I don't believe, have a back door and have been holding back channel conversations regarding building a stadium in Oakland, that's the only reason I could see them not doing that. If they realistically believe they have a back channel way of keeping the Raiders in Oakland. But if they believe they have a back channel way of keeping the Raiders in Oakland, they're certainly silent about it. Of course, you would say that's the hallmark of keeping a secret, right? But you and I both know that when something is really going on in Oakland, no one can really keep a secret. Okay? So what does that mean? Nothing is going on that will point to that at this juncture. And that would be the one reason I could see them not backing a lawsuit, because they're trying to work out a real solid stadium deal under the nose of Las Vegas. I could see that. There is really enough time to do that. There really is. So, and Barry Lee says, I wonder if the NFL will wait until 2021 for the stadium to be built. What do you think, Zinni? Would the NFL wait until 2021? I think they would. Nick Z says, how concerned are you about the secondary and the middle linebacker position? I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The Raiders' problems are with scheme and defensive formation and coaching technique, not players. So, there. Jamal Mills says, hey, I had a friend say that the owners are adamant about owning land. Is that why Mark was for leaving? He couldn't own land in Oakland? Yeah, but he's not owning it in Vegas either. He's got to take that land and turn it over to the stadium authority, so it's the same deal. And not only that, it's the only way. He had a better chance, Mark Davis did, of owning land in Vegas than he did and does in the Las Vegas parlance. Oh, excuse me. He had a better chance of owning land in Oakland. I said Vegas. He had a better chance of owning land in Oakland than he did in Las Vegas, and does. So, Dorian says, we'll see this past Saturday about the whole secondary thing. Hennessy says, will the A's announcement about their new site play a role in this? Yes, it still does. If the A's go downtown or someplace off the Coliseum property, hey, it's a new ball game. I did say that. Alex Perez says, building the stadium in Oakland will take longer due to demolishing the old stadium first. Except that it's not the length of time that matters. You can go and play at Levi Stadium. They can work a deal at Berkeley. I think they can massage the fathers over there, the fathers and mothers, Berkeley fathers and mothers, right? But we have all known procedurally how that gets done in the Bay Area. That's not an impediment. It never was. So it never was. And Juan Ramirez says, could the NFL force Mark to get a deal done in Oakland with knowing that he cannot afford, I guess he meant he can afford anything in Vegas? The NFL's response would be, we already went that road. Donald Smith says, I wish the Raiders in Oakland were aggressive in building a stadium in Oakland and building a franchise. Barry Lee says, Alex, you're wrong. They could build a new stadium because it's a big parking lot. Crawford 37 West says, you're right. The Athletics leaving would change the game real fast. Yeah, it would. That would send a signal big time. And that's why Libby needs to push the A's off the Coliseum site right now and send a message to the Raiders that we're ready to play ball once again. She can't just let the NFL dictate Oakland's future, and she's done that. She's letting the A's dictate Oakland's future. That's not what mayors do. Mayors lead. Mayors direct businesses where to go, provide the resources to where they go in the city, point the direction, and make it happen. That's what mayors do. Mayors don't sit around and let sports teams quite literally bobblehead them. You know how you take a bobblehead and you take the head and you go, well, that's what they're doing with Libby. They're just taking her like she's going, okay? And the A's are having fun with it. And the Warriors like, okay, we're through playing bobblehead. We're going to San Francisco. And the A's are like, we're not done. The Raiders are like, well, we're not going to play bobblehead. We're just kind of really don't know what we want, but we've got these different deals here. We want to leave and move, and Libby's not saying much to us, and and all that. So they're through playing. But the A's, and Dave Cavall, they love playing bobblehead, and the mayor should not allow herself to be the A's bobblehead. But that's exactly what's going on, and Oakland is suffering for it. The mayor needs to point the direction for the city. Not anymore this wow, So Donald Smith says, Marvin Ramirez said something, look at what they did in New York. Yep. And I think you guys were having an interesting conversation about the aggressive building, and yeah, the Athletics will change the game. And so Ramirez says, good night. Hey, Ron, thank you for your investment and good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Donald Smith says they need to redo the BART station, the BART bridge. That's actually already in the plan. There's $40 million set aside for that. Jose Alon says hotel room tax collections are running well ahead of authorities' conservative estimates. After 4 months of collections, the taxes generated $17.1 million, 15.7% ahead of projections. But, and there is truth to that, but it's trending downward, Jose. It started at $5 million and now it's at $3.8 million. It's trending downward. And get this. If it goes below just over 3.5 million, okay, or at 3.5 million, they've got a problem. And if it hits recession, they got a real problem, because that 88/100ths of 1% is closer than what they needed to be in order to have a waterfall. The original SNTIC document forecasted the use of a 1% tax, not increase, not 88% of 1%. And then they backed that down to 7%, and that wasn't enough, so then they bumped it up again. So, but no. The reason why they're watching this like a hawk is because they know the tax rate is too low. Why did they set that tax rate that low? Because they didn't want the Las Vegas hoteliers didn't want the other cities saying, oh, hey, Las Vegas hotel tax is 1% greater than ours, or 2%. Come to us. Come to Chicago. Come to Orlando. You get the idea? It was a competitive move. But they basically, quite literally, are playing dangerously mortgaging their future, if you will, to maintain a perceived competitive advantage with respect to hotel tax rates. That was stupid. They should have left it at 1%. They should have put it at 1.4%. Because then they wouldn't have to turn around and look at, oh, do we have enough every month? Oh, do we have enough? It's become comical to me to watch them fret over these numbers on a monthly basis, because they know dang well they don't have a tax rate that's large enough. A blind man can see it with a cane. It's hilarious. Wow. So yeah, there's your truth. Brad Bergman says maybe mayors should be leaders. That's why they get paid. And Dorian says that's what I've been saying. Needs to go fast. Oh, Zinni from here. Hey, thanks, man. So Nick Z says the facts are the Raiders will be missed far more than the A's will be missed if they left. I don't know about that. And so let's see here. Patrick M. Blackman says, hey, Zinni, I thought you were taking the night off. Yeah, I thought I was too, but I changed my mind after the Stadium Authority meeting, and I was like, you know what? I just can't do it. Plus, a lot of people are used to me being on. I mean, look, right now we got 73 people. Well, these are great numbers. We have more people on tonight now than were on the Stadium Authority meeting for much of it, and then it started kicking up, I think, to 87 and then 99 toward the later part of it. But for a Thursday night, these are great numbers for me. All right, so we've got Crawford says if the tax money dries out, it's major trouble. Davis needs the market where he's protected. Nick says, and I can't imagine the Raiders bringing more money to the city's economy rather than the Athletics. I think it's both of them. I always had the dream of an upgraded Coliseum with homes for both the Raiders and the A's and more land around for parking that we purchased. That is one of the few places where you have that advantage. And then put in hotels that are close together and condominiums where you can live there, have great major events and concerts, reestablish the day on the green, have something called maybe esports on the green, you know, make it a dome stadium with a retractable roof, go whole hog and 9 yards and everything. Why not? Make it state of the art. So, hey, thank you, Jose. And Donald Smith says, Oakland likes the Raiders way more than... I don't know about that. Henry Flores says, Zinni, did you foresee this B of A not covering the cost of the stadium? Henry, it doesn't surprise me because B of A is a bank, and I've said before, they're a bank. I would have been very surprised if they had extended the Raiders a blank check. That would be unheard of for any financial institution of its kind to do. And it is quite obvious after today that they are not extending the Raiders a blank check. This is not Sheldon Adelson. And it demonstrates just how much Adelson's wealth drove this thing. It really does. So, Oakland baller. Nick Z says, sharing the land would be ideal, but they just want to... Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Nick. Hey, good night. Good night, Barry. Good night. Good night. Let's see what other tidbits we've got. Crawford says, Ford Field and Commerce Park in Detroit are next to each other also. Right. And that's a beautiful facility there. You know, it really is a heck of a facility. It's something else. So we've got hashtag Raiders, hashtag NFL. Got it? Good night, Barry. Hey, Barry Strong, by the way. Hey, John Marks. I was going to write Barry Strong. Barry Strong. There we go. Barry Strong. So now we have, like I said, we have numbers that are rivaling the Stadium Authority. So I say welcome to Zinni62 on YouTube. And welcome to the live stream. Please, by the way, invest in the live stream. And it really is an investment, not a donation. You do get shares for your investment. And the shares will be exchanged when Zinni62 Media is acquired. I'm also working on finding a place for your shares on a secondary market. All that's in motion. Welcome to Zinni62 Media. Welcome to one of the oldest active YouTube partner channels ever. Established April 21st, 2006. Made YouTube partner June 9th of 2008. So we've spanned the generations. Or I guess you could, if you like, you'd say I span the generations. All right. So 831 Scott says, with a new ballpark, the A's would generate way more money in a season than the Raiders. They have way more home games, and a new ballpark would be a sellout. Look at the SF Giants. I don't think that, you know, because of the fact that football games are more expensive, I can make an argument, and football people tend to spend more when they get out of the games. I can make an argument that the Raiders are more valuable than the A's, but you know, from the numbers that I've seen in the past, they're about equal. And not only that, I like the synergies of having all these sports organizations together. I don't like the either or discussion. I like the fact that we had the Raiders, the Warriors, and the A's. If you can imagine them all together, all called Oakland A's, Oakland Warriors, Oakland Raiders, and a properly designed sports city. Okay? Not a Coliseum city, a sports city. That would have been the envy of the world. We could have done that. We lost that window. We really did. So, let's see here. Looks like the authority board has several agreements to approve. In your opinion, which agreement will have the greatest debate or difficulty passing? Oh, and David, any investment, any money, any questions about turnaround, send me an email. I'll send you the whole enchilada, because there's a lot I want to discuss. Okay, because I don't. Yeah. So all right. So Baller says, Zinni, what do you blame the most for not getting the stadium done? Mine is, oh, by the way, and I'm working on a system for a secondary market where you can trade your shares. So in terms of the timetable, that's lesser than you think, you know. In fact, you know, technically you could trade them right now. Technically, I have to be careful with that because of the Jobs Act, which is what this is under, and it allows crowdfunding. Okay, but I have seen people do it. Just saying. If somebody likes your share and say, hey, I want to buy into that, there's really nothing stopping them from doing it right now. At all. So, you know. So anyway, Baller says, Zinni, who do you blame the most for not getting the stadium deal done? The mayor or the A's or the Raiders, in that order? I blame, in this order, the Raiders, the mayor, and then the A's. And here's why. The Raiders could have zeroed in on Oakland exclusively. The mayor could have called the Raiders bluff and give them everything they want, and the A's could have simply agreed not only to get out of the way, but go to the NFL owners meeting, drag the mayor of Oakland along, and give a presentation about how much they want the Raiders to stay in Oakland. So all that could have happened. Okay, so good question though. All right, so. You've got Titan says, Zinni, why did the mayor seem to give the A's more priority than the Raiders? Because she has this thing about baseball being more valuable economically than football, and you know, she did a politically unwise thing in stating the idea, thinking it wasn't going to stick to her. But sometimes Libby gets this thing in her head where she understands more than you do about something, and she focuses on that rather than, hey, should I be saying this? I mean, she doesn't do it often, but sometimes she has this place in her heart that's really great, and it's cool, and it's so kind and beautiful. And then sometimes when it comes to knowledge about being nerdy, she goes into this other place. And that other place sometimes causes her to say things where you would say, gee, that was not exactly the best thing to say politically. She doesn't do it often, but with sports, she does it. And that's the problem, okay? So, all right. So, you've got Maurice Keith says, athletics need to address the pitching staff. Yep. And Nick C says, do you see another team coming to Oakland when the Raiders leave? I do eventually, but it depends a lot on the electorate here. I don't sense an electorate that wants to fight for Oakland anymore, and I'm just being candid with you. It seems hard to find people who really champion the idea of Oakland getting out of the shadow of San Francisco, even as much as San Francisco, thanks to Mark Benioff, is building that monstrosity of a tower, you know, Salesforce. And thank you for the investment, Jose. Much appreciated. So, I mean, have you seen Salesforce Tower? Can you say, holy, woo, man, it's big. It's the first time in San Francisco I've ever walked the streets and watched people just crane their necks like this. I have that on video. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. And Raider Flea asks, hey, Zinni, if this deal blows up in Mark's face, do you see him going to another city? No, I don't. I see him staying in Oakland. I really do. I don't think he wants to put anybody through this again, and I don't think he wants to put himself through this again. Harry Flores says, hey, Zinni. Oh, Nick C says, that Sports City idea was gold. Thank you. Thank you. Harry Flores says, Zinni, please, when you have time, please list books that you think will enlighten us and make us more aware. Okay. There is one. It's going to sound a little odd, but it's one I want you to read. It's called The Systems Approach and Its Enemies, and it's by C. West Churchman. And you're going to say, what? But the reason why I point to that is it quite literally teaches a person how to jump out of thought traps. In other words, a thought trap is, as a teacher, you're trained to line up students in a line, right? You know, we're all in our places with bright, shiny faces. That's a disciplinarian way of thinking. The systems approach challenges that. And it might say, well, okay, you're determined that maybe you're having a communication problem. And so based on that communication problem, which is unique to your situation with the students, you set up an entirely different seat configuration. But it's because you analyze the system of communications and you determine a different way. So you are using a systems approach. So the people in your school criticize you, and so as a result, they become the enemy of the systems approach. The systems approach can be applied to any aspect of life, including what I'm talking about here. Because if you understand how to think systemically, you understand where to see disciplinary thinking and where to point it out. It's a way of thinking. And what I'm advocating are the adoption of ways of thinking so that you can understand how to evaluate policy like this and how to solve complex problems in society that you may think right now you're not capable of solving, but I'm saying you are. It's just that no one has said to you, hey, read something that gives you a tool. Here's another book. It's called The Fifth Discipline, The Art and Practice of the Learning Organization by Peter Senge. And that basically is teaching you system dynamics without really teaching you system dynamics. It's teaching you systems thinking. So my point is, I'm advocating learning systems thinking as a way of thinking about these problems, as opposed to reading about, sports finance or anything like that. And in fact, that reminds me of somebody I want to bring onto the show. And I'm not going to say who that is. That'll be a surprise. But I really advocate learning different thought tools, ways of understanding problems you may think are beyond you to understand. But hey, you'd surprise yourself if you think that. There are a lot of people who don't. But some do. They say, oh, that's finance. I can't understand that. Or that's this. I can't understand that. There's always a door. And what I want you to learn is how to recognize that door on your own and not fear to walk through it and have your own point of view and your own take to add to a conversation or to enrich it or to help find, hey, the cure for cancer. I'm being facetious, but you get the idea. All right. So Donald Smith says, look at the Falcons' new stadium. Great example. They are one of the premier teams in sports now. The only dumb thing they did was have, what is this? Have Chick-fil-A in the stadium, which isn't open on Sunday. Yeah, that's right. The Falcons, led by Arthur Blank, Mr. Blank, as I call him, are one of the class organizations of the league, but it comes from how he and Rich McKay run the team. And not only that, the area, the region I'm in, it has all these Fortune 500 corporations. Mercedes-Benz just moved here from Princeton, New Jersey. A number of cities have come down, and thank you for the investment, Mr. Blackman. Wow, Mr. Blackman, thank you. Oh, thank you. Wait a minute. Mr. Blackman doesn't... Hold it. Wait a minute. That was $50. I got to do that. Woo! Thank you. Woo! Definitely a ringy dingy night. I gotta ring the ding. Ring that ding dong, ring that whatever. You get the idea. It was like ding, hey, wait a minute. That's fantastic. Thank you. Woohoo! So John Marks says, what did happen in the Vegas meeting recap? Can I recap? Okay, John Marks, the quick recap is that the progress for the Raiders Stadium went over. A new video was introduced. Bank of America made a presentation and basically revealed that they can only afford to finance $1.8 billion, and that's it. And the determination was made that, hey, a lot of agreements, UNLV agreement's not done. The community benefits agreement isn't done. So a lot of this is going to be moved back to the 15th and beyond, 15th of September and beyond. And that was it. There was a lot that wasn't said. Like, hey, by Bank of America, we cannot afford to extend you more credit than that. Sorry, because we don't believe you can pay it off. Sorry, okay? But you can go someplace else and get a loan. Sorry, okay? It would have been cool if Elliot McCabe actually had said that. That would have brought the house down, okay? But he didn't. There you go, all right? So, Elliot McCabe is the representative for Bank of America, all right? So, Donald says, the city is wanting the A's more than the Raiders shows gentrification of the city. Interesting. And Crawford says, hello, John. Hello, Crawford. John Marks says, I don't think the NFL wants the Raiders to pawn another city that will further embarrass the league. John Marks says, read the book from Nancy Finley Ball. Yeah, I like Moneyball myself. Hennessy said, how do we really know that the new A's stadium will sell out? And Hennessy, this is a good question. If they keep having the same season over and over again, I don't believe the stadium will sell out. And I agree with you, unless it's at Howard Terminal. Unless it's a super, or, hey, look, Victory Court's not a bad idea. Not far from Lake Merritt. If it's a super sexy design with water, with restaurants and places that, you want to be, and you want to take your girl and everything, yes. Then it won't matter. It'll be the place, right? We haven't had a baseball stadium like that. Well, we did in the form of the Coliseum before Mount Davis. Remember the bleachers and the sun and all that stuff? Okay. So, LX9933 says, Zinni, with your experience, why do you think the city of Oakland didn't bring you in the fight to keep the Raiders there? I'll be very blunt with you. Because they felt that they could get information from me for free because I like to help and I like to explain what I know, and they think it's humorous. That's the reason. And then they have this mentality that someone, I'm just being blunt, that someone white is more the expert than the person who's been there. And I'm just being very blunt about the problem. For example, my buddy Dan Rasher and I did tell Libby to bring in Mitchell Zeiss. But she brought him in at $100,000. Meanwhile, Libby was peppering me with questions. And I've talked about this before. Longtime viewers know this. All the time. I mean, there are examples of plans that we've made to basically, ask Mark Davis a certain question at the Spring League meeting in San Francisco in 2015, right? And, I'm not saying anything I haven't publicly said before, and I'm mindful that some of you are people that may know me who have different screen names and that sort of thing, but I, maybe who are somebody else in real life, or the Raiders, the A's, or whatever. But I am speaking candidly about what I feel is wrong, because as the person who came this close to bringing the Super Bowl to Oakland, who has the NFL relationships, the city should have come to me and worked out some kind of agreement where I was part of the task force and helping them plan the strategy. And at the same time, sure, I'm at the owners' meetings, and it's clear that when I'm at the owners' meetings, I'm press and everything else. But then what I'm doing for them is more the advisory role, right? In other words, if I'm going to be an advisory person for you, don't just, milk me for free stuff. Plus, my background's in urban planning. Not only that, I single-handedly designed the Super Bowl bid. Everything from the seats around the Coliseum, I designed this concept for that. I'm not talking about the one you saw on Twitter. I'm talking about back in 1999. And then I got Anderson Consulting Team Architect to really put some meats and bones on the plan, and went from there. I understand how a stadium is supposed to be prepared for a big event like a Super Bowl. I've followed it for years and years and years to this day. I can go on and on and on and on and on. From 2002 to 2010, I had a model, the Oakland baseball sim world, used in college classrooms, used in 40 high school colleges, high schools and colleges around the world, including the University of San Francisco, Georgia State here in Atlanta, and every other place in Middle Tennessee State University, all kinds of places. So if there's anybody that should have been, a paid advisor, it's me. And no, they didn't do that. But, and then when I told Libby about it, she goes, well, they wanted, that Jerry Kaiser wanted this Mitchell Zeiss. I said, wait a minute, that was our recommendation. But Jerry Kaiser, Kaiser Marston, I saw the study he wrote, and I'm saying this again publicly, I saw the study his firm wrote for Levi Stadium. I could have hired a high school student to do that. Because all they did was they took these charts and put them in the paper. They didn't develop a systems model. They did not develop a simulation of the stadium. Okay? At all. I'm talking about economic simulation of the stadium with dollar flows and everything that runs, over a time series. But then and then mate that to model the team. That's what I do. I build simulation models. I don't get these statistics and charts and put them in and just slap them on and all that stuff. Kids can do that. So there you asked me. So, okay. Crawford says, if they're mediocre, it could be worse. Emil Scott says, everyone thumbs up for Zinni. Thank you. Very much. Thank you. Yeah, very much. Thank you. And let's see here. Zinni, post up the names of the books for systemic thinking. Okay, I will. The other book I want you to read is called Limits to Growth. Limits to Growth. All right. That's seminal. And then the other is called The Systems Approach and Its Enemies. That's by C. West Churchman. And then there's The Fifth Discipline. Discipline. And that's by Peter Senge. So those three. And they all have to do with system dynamics and systems thinking. Let's see here. And no, the A's haven't announced anything yet. Does Oakland need a super... Well, let's see here. Where are we? I'm an A's fan, says 831 Scott, but haven't been to the Giants ballpark. But have been to the Giants ballpark many times because my girlfriend is a Giants fan. It's beautiful. Yeah, and then Momo's is a great place to just hang out and have steaks, and it's a beautiful setting. Or you can go down the street. That whole neighborhood has been transformed by the Giants ballpark. And so, let's see here. We've got David says, it's not fair Russ betrayed you and tried to push his own agenda on your channel. I don't want to get into that. Raider Flea says, don't sell yourself short, Zinni. Thank you. Patrick in Blackman says, thanks, Pat. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Zinni the Mirror has a 1950. Well, I don't know about all that. Pedro says, does Oakland really need to host a Super Bowl? Well, it wasn't a matter of needing to host one. It's a matter of... it's not hosting a Super Bowl. It's setting up the event. As one who single-handedly formed the bid, I can tell you that it's a test of where you are in terms of economic development. How many hotels you have, ballroom size, everything else, okay? Yeah, the limits to growth, right. And, hey, G209, how are you, okay? I'm very well, thank you very much. And so, yeah, overall, I can see the Raiders getting hurt. I really can. By this. I really can. And so, BC says, Zinni, thanks for all you do. I'll be investing soon. Thank you. Thank you. Very much. Let's see, what are the comments here? I'm going to be very blunt. There are some people here who want me to descend into some sort of debate with people who are in Las Vegas, and I won't, and I will tell you why. First of all, I've seen what has been written, and there are common intellectual mistakes that are made for one reason. And it's because of the desire to prove, in this case, me wrong. It's not because of any true interest in the structure of the deals, but it's always with respect to having themselves be seen and make noise. That's it. And when you start from that perspective, you're always incorrect. And fundamentally, when the people that you talk about present their ideas, they always present, for example, all the revenues, but they don't do the expense side. They don't actually build a pro forma. Building a pro forma takes time and work. You got to massage it, run the numbers, run the equations, and make sure that what you do follows the common practice of evaluating a stadium. I have not at all seen that. And then one person wrote some really off-base piece about the Raiders coming back. And here's the thing. I'm part of that history. So the Vegas people do me a disrespect, I guess because I'm black and I would guess they're racist. And yeah, I did go there, but in this day and age, hey, okay, by not asking me questions about what happened back then or who I worked for, Ezra Rapport was the architect of the Raiders deal, they do all of that. And so I would rather not meet them or talk with them or anything. I don't have time at all. It's not worth my time. It's immature baby stuff. That's how I regard it. So that's the last I'm going to deal with it. Now, moving along. Oh, it felt good to say that. I guess I'm not the only one that feels liberated. Well, other than the president feeling liberated by his stupid comments. Anyway, because whatever. Okay. We've got here. I will say Russ Rivera is a great guy. All right. So, Thomas Beltran, where have you been? Time and money. Mark has time but no money. And, yeah. So, Fred Gates. Hey, Zinni, watching this sinking ship. Laughed out loud. Yeah, it is looking like about that. And so 831 Scott said, what's funny is San Diego hosted mini Super Bowls at Qualcomm Stadium. And the Chargers left because they said the stadium was not sufficient to play football in. The city lost that revenue. But you know, 831 Scott, I'll tell you something. I really like the idea of a downtown stadium in San Diego. Now, the Comic-Con minders, the managers, because I've covered Comic-Con in San Diego for the past 8 years straight, were of the opinion that if that combination stadium and convention center were built, then what would happen is that it would force them to buy the space, which was anticipated to be 250,000 square feet, right? And buy that space in order to keep someone else from using it for the purposes of ambush marketing. San Diego Comic-Con is huge. Forget the 130,000 badges that are reported to be released. It's more like 200,000. When Comic-Con is established, when it turns on, San Diego goes from sleepy to like overnight. It is wild, man. It is something else. It's so big that I'm going to say this. San Diego could afford to lose the Chargers. That's how big Comic-Con is. If you've never been to San Diego Comic-Con, you simply must go at least once. I'm telling you that, okay? At least once. Why do you think there's so many cities around the world that have their own Comic-Cons? New York has one. Heck, Austin has one. Denver has one. Salt Lake City has one. And so on, and so on, and so on. Comic-Cons are big business. So anyway, they felt, San Diego Comic-Con people, that they would have to buy out the 250,000 square foot facility in order to prevent ambush marketing. My feeling, and I said this to Dean Spanos, I told him this, right? Dean Spanos is the owner of the Chargers. And I said, why don't you have it such that the downtown stadium is the new Hall H? And they're saying, what's Hall H? Hall H is the largest room in San Diego Comic-Con where the big movies are presented, like the Justice League or the Fantastic Four. I was hesitant to say it's Fantastic Four because it flopped, right? But, okay, but you get the idea, all right? But Hall H fills to the rim. It's 6,600 people. It needs to be double the size. But imagine if it were in the stadium and they held the whole stadium for the Hall H effect. You know, Dean could actually do a deal with him, that kind of thing. Dean liked the idea, wanted me to follow up with Fred Moss. We kept missing each other, all right? Fred Moss was a stadium point guy. San Diego missed the opportunity to mix the Chargers and Comic-Con. I still think the Chargers and Comic-Con in one place, you know, facility-wise, that would be off the hook completely. So, sorry, 831 Scott. King Leo, how are you? And Harry Flores says, Zinni, with the Chargers being in LA and them having no fan base to support them, what do you see the Chargers team value being in 10 years? Will they lose money, and will this impact the NFL? No, they won't. They will not lose money, okay, at all. They will not lose money at all. They will... You know what? They just might. I'm going to say this. I don't have an answer for you. I need to analyze it. Okay? Because now that I start to think that through, given what I saw last Sunday, there may very well be that possibility. Let me get back to you on that. Yeah, let me get back to you on that. Okay? John Mark says, Don Dayball says he thinks, no, Roger Goodell is not racist. I'm going to tell you something. Roger Goodell has personally been very good to me. All right? If it were not for Roger Goodell and Joe Brown and then Commissioner of NFL Paul Tagliabue, I would not have been able to cover the NFL draft for as long as I have. I've covered the NFL draft for 12 straight years. Roger has always treated me as a person he knows. It's never like, you know, wow, nothing strange, ever. I have never had that. I have never seen Roger do that. Do you realize that Roger Goodell's dad, Charles Goodell, Republican congressman, was the only Republican to oppose the Vietnam War? That's right. Charles Goodell was the Barbara Lee of his time. That's Roger Goodell's dad. So no, I'm sorry. Roger Goodell personally came out and helped me set up my tape, my Super Bowl tape, when I was representing the city of Oakland to pitch. No, I've heard people say a lot of things about Roger. Most of them are completely wrong, but that is not the case at all. I'm sorry. I will fight for Roger Goodell. You heard it right here. I think there's certain owners that are treating Roger not appropriately. I won't say who. He is the commissioner. They need to stop making it look like they're trying to undercut him. Just saying, okay? Just saying, all right? Oh, you can buy the t-shirts, Zinni 62 t-shirts right here. Right here. I will get this, and I'm going to go at about 1:30. Again, thank you all for your investments. I'll come back tomorrow as well when we get finished our discussions, and I'm sure I'll have some new news for you. But I'm going to check on that what we talked about there. Here it is, the Teespring. This is my Teespring shirt store right here. Here's the shirt store. T-shirts. There you go. Okay, so I got one that says racism is a mental illness. The other one says but I digress, and the other one is my YouTube logo. Okay, so you know, I gotta check on that. And Marshall, No, we stand with Oakland has. I have no truck with anybody with the Raiders. All right, I wanted to dispel with the Raiders. With as far as I'm concerned, we stand with Oakland. Forever Oakland are one entity. That's as far as I'm concerned. Okay, and I'm saying that, and that's how I look at it, and that's it. I help them. Forever Oakland has been fantastic. Godfather Grid is fantastic. Koog Snipe fantastic. T. Cooper is the champ. Everybody, okay? But I'm not going to put down anybody and get into stuff. Forget it. Just ain't. So Crawford says, in fact, from here on out, I'm actually going to ignore any other comments on that. And I may do some other adjustments too along those lines. I have to put an end to this. If no one else will, I will. Okay? So, staying in Oakland's been fantastic. Lupo, I had to get Lupo on the show. He's been fantastic. All right? So, and so basically, but David, I have no truck with anybody who's done anything. It's not, David saying I should finance anybody else. Let me tell you something. We all have something to contribute here. It's not you, this person, or that person. We all play a role and we all help each other. We all are Avengers. It does feel like the Avengers. It feels like the squabbles of the Avengers and all this, all right? Just don't bring me William Hurt, who plays Thunderbolt Ross. Don't bring General Ross over here trying to lock us all up. Forget it. That's right. We can all be heroes, BC. Yeah. We can all be heroes. This is really a matter of, and I'm glad you said that. It is a matter of each one of us finding our own special talents and ways to contribute, not putting other people down. Life is too short for that. My God. I mean, it just is. It is. I'm thinking about that lady that died in Charlottesville. I mean, life is too short to do that. It just is. And Henry Flores says, we need to stand united. This is BS, no factions. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, and Andy Smith says, I'm still trying to figure out the debt the Raiders are supposed to have. Well, Andy, you want to go? You want to figure it out? I'll give you the link. It's right here. There it is, and there I go through that, and oh, here's the other one, because there's that one, right? Hold on a second. There's a better one that I made that I really like. I should have linked to that one. I didn't. Oh, I missed Jay Cutler playing tonight. Oh, man. I'll take a look at it. All right, hold on a second. Here we go. It's called Anatomy of a Bad Deal. And this explains in quite some detail how I got there. All right? So there you go. Bam! There you are. There you are, Andy, right there, okay? Yeah, I had to get that, David had to get that intermission music in. Tequila. Is that right? Wait. He's imparting some knowledge here. John Mark says, Lynn Campbell was a guitarist for the Champs Tequila song. Hey, Danny, how you doing? I got 3 minutes and I'm gone, man. I'm cool, though. I'm cool. I'll check on the Alden Smith issue. And, Oh, Jim Santos says, have the PSL prices been listed for the Vegas Stadium yet? No, but and that reminds me of something that Mark Bedane said today that was kind of flip and gave me an indication that he might be a little impatient with certain questions the board asked, to which I thought, Mark has to be careful, but he said, oh, well, you can just go and take the total amount, and you can take it and divide it by the total number of seats, and they just get you the amount. I thought, oh, God. I'm thinking, Mark, that is not what you do. Oh, my God. I mean, that was not the thing to say. In other words, you idiot. That's basically what he said to him. You idiot. That's what he said. I mean, it's one thing for me to say that, on my show, right? But I would never do that if I were representing the Raiders in a political setting. But he did that. He did that. Well, you could just take, $250 million and divide that by the number of seats. That gets you about 4,000, All he had to, in other words, here's the math. He should have just said, well, we're going to estimate to be about 4,000, but it'll vary. Just something diplomatic. But he had to go and make the guy look like a fool. You know what I mean? Just... Okay? Oh, man. Oh, my God. Who do I think the Raiders leader will be in receiving yards? I don't think Amari Cooper is going to have that breakout season. I think it's going to be Cordell Patterson for some reason. But, it'll be either Patterson or Cooper. Yeah. So, right. And Steve, but the average is 40,000. So, Mark Bourdais is a tool. BC asks, if the Raiders go to Las Vegas, will I live there? No. I mean, I almost got married there. See, that's I wouldn't go to chase a football team. I'm not at that place in life. I am here right now for my mom. I'm 55. My mom will be 82. So that's dictating a lot of things right now, which is, frankly, is a difficult period. But if you're good to your parents, you will go through this too. Trust me. So there you go. Stay with your parents. Remember that. Particularly, you only children out there. You have a responsibility to your parents as you get older. Okay, keep that in mind. Even if it's just hanging around and being there. Don't ever put yourself in a position where you regret anything. Keep that in mind. And with that, folks, it is 1:30. I'll see you all later. And thank you all for the investments. Good night. Good night. Good night. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you. Happy trails. Yep. And as Crawford says, you can bet your last money it has all been a stone gas. Honey. All right. See you guys later. Good night. Okay. See ya.